Very good evening to all. Good evening to all of you and happy Namaste. And thanks to Farhan for giving such an inspiring and beautiful talk. Better? Thanks for the inspiring talk, Farhan. It's really beautiful hearing you and it's a lot of inspiration for all of us here. And thanks to all the Terminal Sada folks for starting this space for the Gachibowli folks, especially for the students. What I see is a lot of young kids, they spend a lot of time on the social media and elsewhere, and finally they found a hangout zone where they can do a lot more in more interactive ways. So today I'll be talking about something that all of us have been through, the school. Right? Probably everybody here has been to one or better. All of us have been through school at some stage of our life, and some of us spent at least 20 years on average in the schooling system, and all of us had some or other problem with the schooling system. Today I will talk about how this problem can be solved, or what are the challenges we are facing, and how do we change it. Okay? And the topic or the talk is today we'll be discussing it, or we're calling it as Studios of Joy. So I'll give you one or two examples to make it very short, this talk. One thing is, as a child, right, I mean, all of us are growing up, we always see that it's kind of a one-size-fits-all education system for everybody, whether they're the toppers of the class, the average kids, or the kids who don't understand the education system, or they want to perform in some other fields, like could be a liberal arts, or music, or kinetics. All of us are put into the schooling system, and we have to spend all those years, whether we like it or not. So what if we had a schooling system that can cater to every kind of mind? So is that the solution of today or yesterday? In fact, it's a solution that we have, a lot of us have been thinking about it, but we never got a chance to implement it because of the social economic conditions of the world. The current education system is a solution of the British, or what we call an industrial age. About 250 years ago, the current education system was founded to cater to the needs of the industrial age. But we are still doing the same education system. From industrial age, we moved to knowledge age. From knowledge age, today we are already into or moving into what we call a conceptual or creative age. Will a system that's gone 250 years ago still can adhere the needs of today's age? So how do we solve it, and what are the problems is what I'm going to highlight in the next 10 minutes. I'll use a couple of markers and I'll write something on the board. Assume that we are all running a 1,000-meter race, right? And every 100 meters, I put a stop. And let's assume that this 1,000 meters is nothing but my 10th grade in the schooling system. This is my grade 1. And every 100 meters is called 1 grade. So if you look at the idea behind this is came from when I looked at the sports closely, and I tried to compare the sports and our schools. That's where I could draw this analogy, and I try to connect to you. Why the sports could produce stars like Sachin Tendulkar and everybody, but why the schooling system is not able to produce stars like that. So if you look at this, at every 100 meters I'm putting a stop, and I'm asking them to run a race for 1,000 meters. Let's say all the kids have started at grade 1, and then they ran the race. The best kids in the class, or the kids who can run really fast, they ran the race in 3 minutes, right? Or 3 months, let's put it. But average schooling year is 10 months, right? You spend 10 months in the schooling year. What happens is, no matter how fast you run, you have to still wait for those 7 months. Because at the end of the day, all of us have to graduate to the next class together, right? That is where the biggest challenge with the schooling system is. That means it's not a dynamic system where you can move according to your own pace. That is one challenge. And the other challenge is, all the races are combined. As the logic, language, or sciences, what we call, that's primarily taught in the schooling system. All of them are combined into one race, and if the kid is good at logic, or language, or sciences, they're all put into the same system, and they'll run the same race. That means if I put a swimmer and a runner into one race, at the beginning of the race, you know who is going to win. Right? So the another fundamental mistake the schooling system is making. So what we are trying to look at is, can we solve this system by creating a learning system where it is dynamic, At the same time, it has multiple intelligences or it has multiple opportunities or can we broaden the curriculum in as many ways as possible. So not just doing logic, language and sciences, can we do music, can we do drumming or can we do kinetics or gymnastics or spatial intelligence. Can we broaden the curriculum around the brain, seeing how many faculties of the brain are or how many different kinds of minds are there in the world. Can we broaden the curriculum around that and divide this race into multiple races. So instead of having one race, can we have one race for logic, one race for language, one race for music, and one race for kinetics or sports. And how it happens is the kids who can run logic fast, they don't have to wait for the other kids to come and join. That means everybody is independent. It's a dynamic learning system. He finishes grade 1 in 3 months or he finishes logic of equivalent to grade 1 in 3 months. He can move ahead and finish 3 grades probably in 1 year because he's a logical kid. But if you look at a musical kid, he's probably going to do just 1 grade in 1 year. Can we divide the system is what the solution we are looking at or what we are trying to do at Abode. We are running the called a Montessori and multiple intelligence system. So, and the other thing what we are doing is we are trying to expose them into all the intelligences, logic, language, sciences, music, kinetics, gymnastics, different stuff. And over a period of 6 years, we are trying to identify who is good at what or who can observe more of what. Right? Unless I let a kid play both music and cricket, I won't know what is he good at. That's exactly the other thing we are trying to do. Expose all the brains by creating or broadening the curriculum in as many ways as possible. At the same time, let's not put a stop at any 100 meters. What if I remove this stop and say that, let's say this is grade 1, instead of this, if I remove this stop and say, and tell them you can run as fast as you can and as far as you can, and there is no stopping. So the child can run probably in 1 year, he'll probably run 300 meters. And who is stopping them? If you look at the education system, it's saying how much you can learn and how deep you can learn. Both the limits we have to remove from the education system so that every child can evolve for what he is. In short, like we have to celebrate the uniqueness of every child. 2 things we have to strongly do. One thing is we have to remove that limit on the education system, and the other thing is teach them more of what they are rather than what we do. So that's the schooling system we are looking at. And other thing is, look at Sachin Tendulkar or A.R. Rahman, right? What they found is they found somebody who found them who they are as early as probably in their 6 years or 7 years. Somebody found that Sachin Tendulkar is going to be a cricketer, right? Or somebody saw that he's playing really well. That's probably his brother Rajat Tendulkar. And then what he did is he took him to Ramakant Rajshekhar. That means a kid, let's say Sachin Tendulkar is probably 10-year-old. He's supposed to be playing only 10-year-olds, right? The same thing happens in the school. If you're a 6-year-old, you're supposed to be in first grade. You cannot, if you're doing well, it doesn't mean that you go sit in there. If you're doing well in math and you can do a 3rd grade math, you can't go and jump and sit in the 3rd grade. But in the sports, it happens. The kid who is playing really well, what happens? His brother sees him that he's going to play really well. His brother starts bowling at him, right? And he's probably bowling at a speed of 3 years elder to him, right? So let's say instead of 60 miles per hour, he's throwing the ball at 90 miles per hour. And he sees that, okay, this boy is still going to hit a 6. Then he'll take him to an Rajshekhar. He's probably a PhD in cricket, let's assume that. That means in probably in a year, he got a jump of multiple grades. But that doesn't happen in the school system. It happens in sports, it happens in music, it happens in art. It doesn't happen in the school. What is we create a system where kids can decide. I mean, it's like you follow the child. See the child, understand the child. Based on how is he moving, can we determine the pace of his learning. It's the kind of system we are looking at. So if you see any of the gifted kids, I mean any of the gifted people in the world, Tendulkar or A.R. Rahman or Rabindranath Tagore, you always see that they have an opportunity to do more of what they are. Somebody found it as early as possible in their early years of their age. At the same time, they gave them more chances to do what they love. That means Sachin Tendulkar would have played at least 8 hours of cricket every day. A.R. Rahman would have practiced music at least few hours, 4 to 6 hours or 8 hours. That's exactly the reason why they are happy today or more successful in the layman terms. So, end of the day, I mean, what we are trying to do is, can we create a school where every child can celebrate his or her uniqueness. That's the concept behind the work, and we're trying to build this school around. Name is Abode. Abode International School, you can search with the name. Yeah, I mean, what we did is it's been the fifth year of our board. Actually, we're entering into the fifth year of board. I have some kids who have been with me for the last 4 years. We start the school around between 1 to 2.5. Most of the kids start between 1 to 2.5. I have some kids who just moved into grade 1. And some of them even went out and won artistic gymnastic competitions. And then some of them are identified as drummers. Some of them are identified as keyboard people. Some of them are taking the Trinity Cambridge initial test this July. So what we did is we soaked them into different intelligences, or what we call different curriculums you can call. We soaked them into music, and music again we did keyboard or drumming or vocal music. In the kinetics we exposed them into gymnastics. So what we found is some kids are really good at gymnastics, so we started giving more of gymnastics. Some kids are really good at keyboard, we started doing more of keyboard. And then we thought, okay, why not write a curriculum for those? Like how we do logic, we have a curriculum. Like math, we have a curriculum. English, we have a curriculum. Grade 1, grade 2. Same way we are thinking, okay, why not do curriculums in the music, dance, or other subjects, so like vocal or anything. And then obviously we'll adopt some of the curriculum that's already existing in music, the Trinity Cambridge curriculum or the Carnatic University curriculum. And as I was telling, like some of these kids already went out and won some competitions. And then the reason for that is, to answer the question, is it's not that unique, that's something special. The main reason is they have a chance to expose that intelligence. Because they're coming to a board and we saw that this kid has that intelligence and we gave them more of what they have. The same thing, we can try it at home also, but only challenge we have is how do we identify? The only way we can identify anybody for anything is by exposing to that. Right? We just can't expose them to dance and say that, okay, you're a dancer or you're not a dancer. You have to expose them to dance as well as music and the gymnastics, and then you have to decide. So that is where I think our schooling system has historically failed. But of course, the reason it failed is the needs of the society when it was designed was very different. But today, as we move into conceptual or creative age, storytelling, empathy, design, this kind of stuff is getting more and more important. So I think the schools have to change. They're pretty narrow today, if you see, they're partial because they try to focus most on engineers, doctors. They're narrow. Reason is they primarily focus on only logic, language, and sciences. There is no place for music, arts, or dance, or kinetics, or gymnastics. There's no curriculums for that. And the third thing is very inappropriate because in today's world, you can see who are the people who are getting more lauded or more appreciated for. The people who have different minds, right? It's not the people who are trying to do the road system or just follow the thing. Thank you. Sure.
So I really appreciate that you're doing a lot of good stuff. In what class is this
Right now it's at its second grade. As we're growing year by year. The reason is we want to see how this experiment will unfold. The other thing is we need a lot of faith from the parents also because we are trying to change a system which has been traditionally there for almost 250 years. So it's a lot of faith that we are buying from the parents, and then we are going class by class until we are now until second grade.
So what are your plans as you add more classes into your school, right? So what are your plans where parents will start demanding more traditional way of starting education when the students when the age starts coming towards the board exam, 9 or 10, they reach that particular age, right? When the need for going mainstream becomes, or at least there is compulsion to move towards more mainstream as your age.
I'll answer that question in two parts. One is like, if you look at the world, right? The question he has is, at some point every child has to move into the mainstream education at grade 8 or grade 12 or something. At some point you have to make that cut, okay, enough of your fun or enough of your hobbies or interests or your passion, everything. At some point you have to make that call because you have to be practical. What he's saying is, end of the day, they have to make their buck and start living. So every parent asks this question. In fact, everybody who comes to afford also asks this question. So it's like, always tell two things. One is like 2% of the world decides what the 98% of the world is going to do. The 2% are thinkers, are different people. They visualize things and they make them implement in their heads and then finally come out with some output. So we are trying to look at this 2% one thing because these thinkers, once they implement it on 2%, then we can pivot to the rest of the crowd. The second answer to that is, obviously we are looking at, the system is called, the philosophy behind ABORD is called Strong Minds and Happy Souls. in the strong minds part, I mean, average school hours is like 6 to 7 hours every day your child spends there. What we make sure is they spend 3 to 4 hours in the strong minds part, which is our logic, language, and sciences. But the only thing is the way we do it is more dynamic. The way we do the logic, language, and science is also dynamic. At the same time, we make sure in the happy souls part, they spend at least couple of hours in the studios or in their area of interest. So we are combining, we are being practical. At the same time, we are making sure that we find, we help the child find himself or herself. So at some point, whenever they want to go to any system, they still be fine. In fact, what we saw in our children, right? We are putting a lot of importance on the reading program, and we saw that an average reader at about is 4.5 years old. Yesterday was our fourth year sermon, end of the year PTM, and I had 70 parents whose children are already reading out of the 130 kids, and most of the average age is 4.5. The reason is they're exposed more into reading. As early as starting from 2.5 to 3, we expose them into sound. That's the reason they're able to read. Most of us know some logic and language because we've been exposed into that for 20 years. The same logic has to be applied as the music, dance, or drama.
So how is your school different from, let's say, Waldorf school? What is the differentiation?
It's not a differentiation I'm trying to look at. What I'm trying to do is, whether it's a Waldorf or if it's a Montessori or what is a Abboud, all we are trying to do is we are trying to help identify the child. It's as simple as that. You see, right? Different, but at the end of the day, what Abboud is trying to do is we are also catering to that strong mind philosophy where the children, still make their buck. Where we're teaching them, instead of one PhD, let's say having a PhD or a doctorate or a master's in engineering, why don't you take home 2 PhDs, right? Take a PhD in engineering, at the same time take a PhD in what you are. Right? The strong mind, that's the happy soul. The happy soul is who you are. So that's where I think Abboud is, the differentiating factor is the kids will have 2 PhDs because they're spending at least 2 hours on an average day, or 1 to 2 hours on average is what they are. And if you look at they spend 20 years on an average, they'll spend at least 10,000 hours. By the law of outliers, they'll get a PhD in what they are too. So, and how happy would that life will be, right? Where every day you can celebrate for who you are.
I really appreciate this new kind of initiative which you have launched, which is really needed in the current scenario. I would want to know what are the challenges you face from the Indian education system probably, because primarily, do we face any hindrance in adopting such kind of new education system? Because as I see when you explain, you are trying to portray the child in the way of whatever his or her interests are. So, is it typically the same education pattern which is followed in other schools, or do you change the education scenario on the whole? And do we face any challenges from the Indian education system board?
To be honest, in the Indian education system, I don't face any challenges. In fact, we can all create our own schools. It's just a tag we are looking for to sell the school in a much better way to a wider audience, right? If I create my own school, probably there'll be only 400 kids. If I had to make it more reachable or make it more marketable, I need to put some kind of tag, some kind of approved tag. Other than that, I don't think I'll face any challenge from the education system. If you look at any educational system, right, it took at least a decade or more to at least even to prove the basics of it. Whether it's a Montessori or a Waldorf or Reggio Emilia or any system in the world, it took more than a decade to prove it. So I don't think we'll face any challenges. Even if we face the challenges, we are completely, we are telling them outright to the parents, okay, there's a new system we are trying to design. And then over time, they can, he was asking, they can get into any system. The child from this kind of schooling, because it's taught more in the concrete ways. Everything is hands-on learning until 6 years, and we are working through senses rather than working in other ways. So these children will definitely have some advantage because their perspective about life or anything in the world is going to be much more multisensorial.
Yeah, very nice. Really appreciate that.
So thank you.